Okay, I think most of our landscape here is done. We've just got to concentrate now on this inner section of the landscape where the actual house is going to go. Again, we're not going to start painting foliage in through here until we actually get the Art Deco building placed, which we'll probably end up doing next week. I think what I'll do now is I might concentrate on bringing in some of the... Again, I'm just pulling up to check, make sure everything is looking correct. I may start bringing in some of the, a couple more pieces of furniture for the Art Deco building, because we are going to be doing a fly-through inside the building as well. So we're going to be coming up the garden path and then flying inside the building and back out again when we do our cinematic. So I think what we might do is concentrate now on bringing in just a couple of pieces of furniture. I don't want to fully furnish the building, but I'm going to bring in a settee, a couch, a side table, and a couple of holders for pots for the actual indoor plants that we're using, which are the Chanel and the potted plant palm. And then we can delete all of this stuff here and have a nice clean space ready to go when we start building the building. So let's save our work so we don't lose anything. Then we're going to jump back into 3D Studio Max. We don't need to save that. I didn't make any changes. Actually, I should do it this way, it's easier. Again, remember this terrace is really dirty because it's sitting outside and it's going to get a lot of weathering. So, and it's part of a 1930s Deco building, so it's going to have been sitting there for quite a while. So we're not going to bring the building in today. We'll do that next week, on Monday next week. But what I do want to do is I want to bring in this Deco divider. Now this Deco divider is made up of 4 unique sections, and we want to try and save as much memory as we can in the game engine. So what we're going to do is, instead of bringing this in as one mesh, we're going to just bring in one section. And we should be able to work with that one section to recreate the other 3 using the duplicate command, so we only load it into memory once. So we have our section selected, screen panel. Let's export it. I'm just seeing if I actually, here we go, I think I have a folder already set up for it. We'll call it Complete Screen Panel. Let's jump back into Unreal. We'll jump back into our building assets folder. Now the reason I place my assets out in the viewport like this when I'm creating them is to make sure that the scaling is looking correct and that the lighting looks right. So let's pull in our panel. And we have to fix our shader up because it hasn't brought in the normal map or anything like that. So let's find our material. This one is so let's import the normal map and the ambient occlusion map. So we want the metallic, which it's not using, it's just black, the normal map, the roughness map, and we don't have an ambient occlusion map by the look of it. No. Alright. Let's bring them into our shader.
You find me with the hardest words, punch my chest till it hurts, picking up the pieces that keep falling apart.
Hook up the metallic and the normal and the roughness. Okay, let's save that. And let's work on the gold corner pieces here. Screen box base. Let's import the normal and metallic for that. So metallic, we do have we do have an ambient occlusion for that one. Metallic. Just checking my metallic, my roughness to make sure I'm getting my order correct here. You see, this is quite a shiny metal, so maybe a bit too shiny. We won't know. We have to put a reflection capture around this to get reflections to work correctly, but I still think that that is a little bit too shiny. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I think, knock out the metallic. Still incredibly shiny. It's probably the roughness. Yeah. I'll reattach the metallic and leave the roughness turned off. Hey, Sidekicks. You're saying you don't think the normal map is tagged as a normal map? Let me check. You are correct. Thanks for that. I didn't notice that. I'll have to check that on the other one as well. No, it's telling me it's erroring out now, so... Impression. Let's see what's going on here. You are correct. It was not being picked up as a normal map. Thanks, Sidad. What is going on here? Just trying to work out why my these gold boxes are looking a bit weird. I wonder if that's a problem with the normals on the actual object. Thank you, dude. These little things I miss sometimes. I'm not sure why it didn't register it as a normal map. It is weird for a normal map being that color anyway, but I have noticed with Substance Painter it does occasionally do a normal map like that as opposed to the normal way it would look. But there's still an issue going on with the shadowing here. Because if I look at my gold boxes here, the colour's correct at the top, but the front here is looking weird. Why would that be? While we're here, let's double check that the normal map for the other one is the correct one as well. Yeah, no, this looks right. Okay. But we do have this problem here with the shadowing. Yeah, it is an odd looking normal map. Oh, well, that would explain why I'm having this shadowing problem here. Sidad saying it looks like it's only getting shadowing from 90 degrees to the side, which would explain why this is going on. Again though, this was actually exported from Substance, so let's jump into Substance and have a look at what's going on there. Okay, so this is the actual object in Substance itself. We have our normal and everything here, which looks correct. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the metallic and the roughness in the generator. And we'll do a re-export on the textures to see if that fixes the problem. Type 12, that should be big enough. Let's jump back into Unreal and re-import the normal map. It's still coming in that green color. Just going to look at the shader again. I'm going to disconnect everything that may be causing a problem. So I'm going to turn off metallic. It's only ambient occlusion, normal, and the color. So I've noticed sometimes that can be a problem with the normal tangents as well, but let's jump back into Substance Painter again. I think what I'll do is I'm going to turn off this generator and we'll do an export based just on the base color. In fact, I'm going to completely remove that effect. I'm going to open the folder and check the normal map. Okay, you see our normal map has gone back to its normal color. I think the problem was the generator. So let's re-import our normal map again. There we go. Thanks, Daav, for popping in and pointing that out. I would have not noticed that it hadn't imported it correctly to begin with. But that green colour, you're right, it was odd for a normal map to be that colour. Anyway, we're good to go. So the only thing we have left to do now is the actual sun motif Deco sun thing here. That's this one here. So let's import the normal and the occlusion for that. Again, thanks Daav for popping in and saying, all good, yep. Again, thanks dude for popping in and pointing it out, because yeah, I can miss these things sometimes. So we want the normal for that, and we want the ambient occlusion for that. And that's all we need for the Deco. And our normal map is looking correct. Yeah, it was obviously a problem with my generator, I think, with the generator in Substance Painter. When it generated the normal map. And then it obviously, yeah, when it imported into Unreal, Unreal was smart enough to think, well, this is not normal, so not a normal map. Let's save our shader. See, this is why it's great you guys are there to point these things out to me, otherwise, like I said, I'd miss it half the time. Alright, so we have our part of our screen here. And like I said, I want to avoid exporting that entire thing when really it's identical. All these pieces are identical to each other. So to save memory, I'm going to do a duplicate. We'll just move it out a bit. And then I'm going to do a transform. Wrong way. I could do a rotate as well. We'll try transform first, it might be easier. Alright, let's just move it into place. Okay, let's select both of them and do a duplicate. I'm just going to get them positioned correctly, like that. So now we have our screen recreated using just one mesh as opposed to 4 different sections. So we can select all of our sections. Just going to make sure the size is correct, and I think it is. We're going to go up to our blueprints and we're going to create a blueprint. We'll convert selected components to blueprint. And completed screen panel underscore prefab. Create blueprint. And now we have our screen set up, so it's easy for us to place in the level now. We don't have to fiddle with 4 different pieces, it's just one object. So if I deselect it and reselect it, you see it selects them all. Okay, so we have our screen in. Let's just do a save all. Again, I'm trying to keep everything consistent, so I'm using this cherry wood, red cherry wood for most of our assets here. So for all the banister pieces, the column pieces, and now the screen. I'm going to do the same thing for the settee and the couch. I'm going to use cherry wood for that as well. Now, let's just move that to the background, because remember, once we finish working on an asset, we move it to the back row so that we know that we're finished with it. I haven't actually brought the stairs in yet either. I've got to do that at some stage. We have our main stairwell here, which is going to go in the main foyer when we first do our fly through to get into the building. I'm wondering if we should bring that in now wait just a little while. We have things like flags as well, but what I'm doing, I'm leaving that till the very last before I bring them in, because they're going to be using cloth simulation, cloth physics. And Epic Games are due to release Unreal 4.16 anytime now, and they've completely changed the way that they handle cloth physics in the new version of Unreal from the old 4.15 version. So I don't want to waste time using NVIDIA's Apex cloth tools here to bring it into the current version that we're using, because I know that Epic have changed it for 4.16. They've rejigged the cloth simulation, cloth physics. It's still using NVIDIA, but you don't need to do this. The process is different from the way it used to be to create a cloth asset, bring it into the editor and use Apex cloth. They've changed it a bit, so I'm going to leave it until the very end, just because I'm waiting on Epic Games to release 4.16, but I'm not sure when they're going to do that. It's in beta testing now. I think they're up to beta 4 or something. So hopefully they'll be releasing it soon. They've been promoting it, so hopefully it will be coming out soon. So I'll leave these cloth assets till the very end. We've still got to bring our building in anyway, so we've got other stuff to do. The flag, things like these rugs that hang on the wall. Again, they're all cloth assets, so I'm going to leave them until the end. And then we just have sections of flooring that I want to change the texturing on. And I've also got to still work on this large chandelier. I want to change that up a bit. But in the meantime, let's bring in this little cushion. Because I'm going to be using these cushions quite a bit for different parts of the actual settees, and actually there's a small alcove in the top section on the second floor of the building when the camera flies through. I want to place cushions in there as well, so I'm going to use the same cushion mesh and just swap out the material. So we're going to call this one cushion. And let's import our cushion. And let's drag it into our viewport. Where is it? Just going to delete that and open up the actual mesh to see what's going on here. And it looks like my pivot position is off, so what I'm going to do is jump back into Max and make sure that my pivot is centered. And I'm also going to do a reset on the X-form. Okay, let's export it one more time. And re-import it. You see it's now sitting flat and in the middle of our browser here, the way it should be. And there's our little cushion. Now again, my axis is in the center of my object, because when I do the import, I turned off the option to have Unreal work with the 0 world coordinate. If you don't turn that option off and you export from a program like Max, it's going to place your pivot at the 0, 0, 0 world position. So I turned that option off on my import dialog when I import my model. So now that we have the one cushion in, we can just swap out the fabric to different fabrics to get different looking cushions, and we can scale them up or down to make them a different size. So again, we only use the one mesh and we duplicate it when we need it. Let's just move our cushion in. Now, I don't think I'm not going to use a normal map on the cushion fabric. When we bring it into the level, if it looks like it's going to be shadowing incorrectly or looking a bit strange, I'll add a normal map, but at this stage I don't think I will. It's a small object. I don't think it's really going to benefit from having a normal map. It's the same fabric we're using here for our curtains. Let's jump back into Max. Let's move that to the background so that we know we've exported it. I really should bring this stairwell in, I think, because this is the main stairwell. Yeah, let's do that. So I'm just going to attach these pieces together. So the side panel to the main stairs, to the carpeting. Now let's just turn that off for a minute so I can explain what's going on with this model. I'm just going to isolate it so that we don't get confused with everything else going on in the scene. Now this stairwell, actually I can't export it yet because I need to change some of these side paneling. I've made them a bit higher, the mesh a little higher poly, so I won't bring this in just now, but what I'm doing with this is I'm not going to be attaching these banisters to the main stairs because I'm going to duplicate that banister to the opposite side here. That way I can just work with one mesh, duplicate it to this side. So I'm not going to be attaching it to the main stairwell. The same thing goes for these little, what would you call them? These tie downs for the carpet stairs, to keep the carpet into the corner of the step. I'm only going to export one of them, and then we're going to duplicate that to run them all the way up the step. They look a bit flat here, but they're using a shiny gold metallic texture. So that's what's going to happen with the stairs. The railings are going to be kept separate, so we can duplicate it to that side, and these ties for the corners are going to be separate as well. So we can't actually bring the steps in because I've got to. I'm making these side panelings a little bit higher detail, and I haven't done that just yet because we're working on our environment in Unreal. So let's just get out of isolation and see if there's and this is another curtain that I want to change the texture on because I really hate the look of that texture, and I haven't decided what texture I want to put on it yet. And that's just a carpeting that I took into ZBrush to sculpt up a bit so the carpet looked a bit smoother. We have some of these panels here that I'm using parallax mapping on in Unreal. Let's bring those in. So this one is called, that's the main ceiling. These are side ceiling, let's call it ceiling panel 2. Ceiling panel 2. And ceiling panel 3. Now, I may have forgotten to do a reset on the expo, and we'll find out when we import them into Unreal in 2 seconds. So these are ceiling paneling, this plaster ceiling work. Again, all this is a flat plane, so there's only 2 tries used here, 2 triangles. And I'm using parallax mapping to give us the illusion of depth and detail on the mesh. So none of that detailing is modeled in, it's just a flat plane. And parallax mapping is great for this type of thing. Anywhere where the player can't get too close to the object. In this case, these are ceiling panels, so they're going to be right up on the ceiling. A player's never going to be able to get up next to it to see it. And the reason for that is if I get it into a certain angle, you'll see it here. You see what happens with a parallax map? If you get to a certain angle, it starts to look really weird. So you want to make sure the player can never get too close. So let's bring in those two new meshes we just exported, the two new ceiling panel pieces. Ceiling panel 2. And again, that option for my pivot position is this one here, transform vertex to absolute. I have that unticked. It's ticked, I think, by default, which means anything you export from your 3D program will use 0, 0, 0 world coordinates. And if you untick it, it won't. Okay, let's just pull this in. Again, I did forget to do a reset on my export. You see I can't see my panel anywhere. So let's just do that quickly in Max. Again, we'll make sure our pivot is in the middle of the object. We'll reset our X-form. Collapse that stack. Re-export our model. We'll do the same thing on the smaller panel, so if it's happening on the big one, it's going to happen on the small one too. Okay, jump back into Unreal and re-import that ceiling panel. Pull it into our level. I'm just going to pull it up to check my normals on this. So we've already created the texture we're using for that, so I'm just going to use the texture we're using here. So I'm just going to check what that is called, parallax matte, okay. Now I know I've already got it created somewhere in here. There we go. I'm going to drag that one into our shader. Again, I'm just going to pull this up so I can check my normal map. I'm just trying to work out whether, look, this is a ceiling panel, so I think we may be looking at the top of the panel here as opposed to the underside of it, which is what we're normally going to see when it's actually up in the air. Yeah, I think we are. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to rotate it around just to make sure that everything looks correct. Actually, I may be wrong. I think it was right the way it was. But again, you see the problem you can get with parallax mapping. If you get at it at a certain angle, it just completely breaks it. We also have to do a rebuild on the lighting. So it's going to look a bit strange until we rebuild the lighting. But it just helps to give the illusion of more geometry than is actually there. Okay, let's bring in the final ceiling panel. And I brought it into my materials instead of my meshes, so I'm just going to drag it down here. Let's just assign that proper parallax map texture. Alright. Again, it's going to look strange because of that parallax mapping. But if we look at it like it will be seen when it's on a ceiling, it looks fine. Alright, so we have our ceiling panels brought in. We've finished working on our garden entrance. So again, let's just go through our cameras really quickly. So we have our back of our building. We have the pond area. We've got our entryway. Just a different angle on our entryway. Again, we're going to rebuild the lighting, but we have our entrance path. A close-up of our first terrace section. A little bit closer again on our terrace. And then we started, we placed the second terrace in here today. With our trees around the outside. So I think we may actually leave it there for today, guys. What I'll do now is I'll do a rebuild on the lighting so that when I come back, everything will be looking correct. Now, I normally stream on a Wednesday, so normally I would be streaming tomorrow, but I can't this week, or next week actually. So this week it's Monday, Tuesday, next week Monday, Tuesday, and then back to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, just because I've got some work on for the studio that I have to finish. Otherwise they'll start screaming at me. So my apologies for not being on tomorrow. I'll be back on Monday next week though at 5 PM Pacific time in the US, and we'll continue doing work on our Art Deco building. I think what we'll do now is, like I said, we've finished doing most of our environment here, the outside. We're going to start bringing the actual building in so that we can finish doing the environment on the outside of the building before we actually start putting the interior together. So we'll start that next week. Yeah, again, like I said, guys, I'm sorry I can't stream tomorrow. Normally I do stream Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I've just got to finish this stuff. Pardon me, finish this stuff with the studio. So I'll be back on again on Monday next week at 5 PM. I do want to thank you guys very much for hanging out and for watching. And thank you, Sidekicks, for popping into chat and showing me the problem I had there with my normal map. Yeah, thanks guys for hanging out and for watching. Remember, I do post on my Twitter page before I go live at Phil Does 3D, but I will be back on. My schedule doesn't change. It's generally always Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at 5 PM. Except I won't be on tomorrow. I'll be back on Monday next week. So again, I hope you guys have a great weekend. I do want to thank you guys very much again for hanging out and for watching. I'll be back on Monday next week, and we'll continue doing work here on our Art Deco building interior, exterior, fly-through cinematic. So you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys hopefully next week. See you guys.